my concerns is that the issue of the health of our planet and the sustainability of our planet, which was the big issue for the last couple of years, obviously has been pushed aside. So I bring that up in regard to the fact that I want to compliment the administration with not losing sight of the health of our planet and the health of our community, and buying these first 4 electric vehicles. I think it's very exciting, and I applaud the administration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, on that one. Unless anybody has any other comments or questions on 15, I'll move on to my other one, which was item 59 and 60. Did anybody else have anything on 15 before I move on?
No, we'll move on to 59 and 60, and then we'll vote on them once we get to that part of the consent agenda.
Okay.
Is there any staff here for 59 and 60?
Yes, Chair. Jean Duncan here to answer any questions about 59 or 60.
And Brad is here as well, Mr. Dingfelder, for 59 and 60.
And I've had some great chats with Jean and Brad both this week, but I just wanted to bring them up to council and the community, especially the Davis Island community. Items 59 and 60 is Mr. Baird and his fantastic team are starting the pipes program, and they'll be tearing up significant portions of Davis Boulevard and East Davis Boulevard to put in new water mains under this project. And hand in hand with that, when they're done, and this is fantastic, that Ms. Duncan and her staff will be following up with improvements to the safety of the roadway. So, Brad, I think yours is pretty straightforward, but Ms. Duncan, if you want to elaborate on the safety improvements that you and Mr. Viera have planned.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Dingfelder. We've worked very extensively with the Davis Island Civic Association, and we're pleased that we will be putting what we call a complete street configuration on Davis Boulevard to follow up with the water line work. This involves narrowing our travel lanes, which results in folks driving slower and adhering more to the speed limit. We're going to be reducing the speed limit in the area to 30 miles an hour. We'll have a roundabout place as well off of Severn Avenue. We'll have landscaping in the medians that also creates a traffic calming benefit. Excuse me. And we will have ADA and pedestrian enhancements as well to add more safety to the area. So I know the community is looking forward to the completion of the project, and we believe this is going to be a real aesthetic, safety, and resiliency enhancement for Davis Island.
Well, thank you, Ms. Duncan. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I'll just wrap up by saying that I'm really excited about this. 25 years ago, I was president of Davis Island Civic Association, and we actually met with the city 25 years ago to talk to them about some safety improvements, and specifically some medians in the business district to try and get people to slow down and create a safe haven for the pedestrians. So super excited about this program, and I hope the word gets out to Davis Island as well. Thank you, staff, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
all right,
totally support those items.
All right, we'll vote on them.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Miranda, can I pipe in? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On 59 especially, my question is, since the PIPES program, I think the public has to realize that this program is the one that was passed as part of the $2.9 billion.
Yes, sir. Very good. No, that's a good point because, I'm sorry?
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking Ms. Duncan, is this part of the $2.9 billion program?
Yes, you're absolutely correct, Councilman. This is part of that PIPES program. And we've hit the ground running to get these projects out the door quickly, so we're looking forward to getting this one started.
So then I have to make an assumption that this is part of the 53% that was funded up front by the citizens paying their $2 a month on water and $2 a month on wastewater. Am I correct?
I'll let our CFO chime in on that question, Councilman.
Sure, this is Dennis. I'm not sure I understand the question.
In other words, the way this was passed, if I recall, and it's been some time back, this was funded under a 53% upfront payment, and then the rest we were going to bond out, which was 47% of the project. So my question is, we've been collecting the $2 a month on water and $2 a month on wastewater on your water bill that comes every month, so that we may have a kitty to start the project without funding through the sources of revenue of financing it. So my question is very simple. Is this $4,445,924.08, is that part of the upfront 53% funded that the public is paying into the fund without financing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and congratulations to you and everyone in the city who had this brilliant idea, especially Brad Baird in the beginning, and Ms. Duncan now to continue doing this. We don't have to pay interest. In other words, you get 100% payback. The other way you finance it, you only get a 50% payback. Thank you very much.
All right, any other discussion from any other council members? Any questions? Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Carlson, could I just make a quick statement about 2122, and then we can just go ahead and leave it on the consent agenda when we go forward?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to point out is that, and I don't need to get into a long discussion with staff or anything, but I wanted to point out that I think it was April 16th, we were first discussing the One Tampa program. I think the money was going to come, Mr. Viera said, estimated, it was an estimate, that the $2 million from the public as donations, $2 million from CDBG, $2 million from the reserve funds, and then $2 million from CRA. I just wanted to point out that that number for the CRA is now a little north of $3 million. We had a discussion about it coming from the interest money, which I'll bring up at the CRA meeting. But I just wanted to point out that $3 million that had we had a robust discussion 3 months ago, we would have put it to much needed projects. So as we go forward, I hope that we have really insightful conversations about the budget and where it should go and strategy and everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, that clears up the discussion for the pulled items. Item number 48 on the addendum was a substitute resolution, and we'll get to that later.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr.
I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. One other issue I was talking to Mr. Baird about, and I wanted to get this on the record because I think it's extremely important for especially the community to hear and the minority community to hear. I've been asking and pestering Mr. Bennett and his staff, all of the staff, and Mr. Hart about WIMBY, and I thought our numbers on WIMBY were not exciting. They promised me that as we go into the PIPES program, that our WIMBY numbers will get better. And Mr. Bennett or Mr. Baird, do you have any report on that, especially as related to item 59 and any other large expenditures on pipes?
Yes, this is Brad Baird speaking. On item 59, which is a contract amount roughly $4.5 million on that item, we are pleased to report that the WMBE SLBE participation goal is set at 28.43%. Total, which is almost $1.3 million out of that contract. So we're very proud of that to get out of the gate with a high number. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dingfelder, is that it?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks to Ms. Wynn, Sia Wynn, and her team on pushing those WIMBY numbers higher, and all the staff, Mr. Baird, and everybody who's working on the minority business enterprises. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and we need to just keep it up. And I'm really thrilled to see these high numbers on the pipes project. Thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you very much, sir. We will now move to the consent agenda. First off, items 5 through 10, Public Safety Committee is Chair Pro Tem Citro. Remember, item number 9 would be a separate vote for a continuance to May 21st. Councilmember Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Let's start with item number 9. As per request of Tampa City Assistant Attorney Simone Savino, I am going to ask for a continuance on item agenda number 9 until May 21st.
All right, we have a motion from Chair Pro Tem Citro. Do we have a second?
Second, Carlson.
We have a second from Councilmember Dingfelder. All in favor of that motion? We do a roll call.
Mr. Chair, you
Yes.
need to take roll call.
Yeah, roll call. Go ahead.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goot?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson? Motion carried.
All right, and now may I have a motion, Councilmember Citro, for items 5 through 8 and item number 10?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move items number 5 through 8 and 10 through 12.
Just 10.
No, just to 10, just to 10.
I'm sorry,
11 and 12
to item number to 10. Thank you.
All right, do we have a second?
Second by Miranda.
All right, second by Councilmember Miranda. All in favor, roll call, please.
Okay. Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goot?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
All right, next up, we
Motion
have
carried.
Parks, Recreation, and, go ahead.
I said motion carried.
Oh, okay, all right. Next up is Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Committee. That is Councilmember Goods for those 2 items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's move items 11 and 12.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Goods. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Miranda.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Miranda. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goot?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, next up is Public Works, items 13 through 18. That is Councilmember Dingfelder. Councilmember Dingfelder, do you have a motion to approve these items?
I'll move those items 13 through 18.
All right, do we have a second?
Second by Miranda.
Second, Viera.
Second by Councilmember Miranda. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goot?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, next up is the Finance Committee. Councilmember Miranda for items number 19 through 27.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move items 19 through 27.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Second, Carlson.
Viera.
Second from Councilmember Carlson. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goot?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, next is Building, Zoning, and Preservation Committee. Councilmember Carlson, items 28 through 46.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move items 28 through 46, please.
Second by Miranda.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson with a second from Councilmember Miranda. All those in favor, roll call.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goose,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, next is the Transportation Committee. It's going to Councilmember Goods. Remember that item number 48 is a substitute resolution per the addendum that we approved a few minutes ago. So items 47 through 53, and then 48 is a substitute. May I have a motion from Councilmember?
Excuse me,
Goods?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is Gina Grimes, City Attorney. I just wanted to mention that on item 48, we did receive a copy of an email that was sent to public agenda comments. And
Okay.
it's related to item 48. I'm not certain if the clerk sent it to all of you and you received a copy of it, but we at a minimum need to read it and receive and file.
Okay, I believe we did receive it from the clerk. I'm going to pull it up here. Did everybody receive it, all other council members?
Yes, Miranda received it.
Okay. I received it myself.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or did not receive and read this this email? No.
It's
All right,
regarding,
seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, the COVID-19 deal.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
All right, any other comments or questions before we move forward? No? All right, Councilmember Goods, do you want to make the motion to approve the items with the substitute for 48?
Correct, Mr. Chair, I make a motion with the item 47, substitute 48 for the 47 through 53.
Second by Miranda.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Goods with a second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goose,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, that clears up the consent agenda. We now go to items being set for public hearing, which is items 54, 55, 56. They have been scheduled all for July 16th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. That's for all three. May I get a motion
Mr. Chairman,
to set this
move
public
items
hearing?
54 through 56 to be set on that July 16th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Viera, second.
We have a second from Councilmember Viera. Roll call, please. Clerk?
Coming now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on 54 through 56, I need to know if those are going to be held in the council chambers or at the convention center.
I don't think we know at this point. I know the convention center is what it's looking for June. Beyond that, you know, I don't know what the situation is going to be, the state of emergency and whatnot is going to be by that time. Hopefully we can be back in council chambers, but I think it's too soon to say where exactly it's going to be held. Now, for public notice, what is it? Just a 30-day notice period ahead of time?
We have to do
Okay, so
30-day notice, but we have to notify them where it's going to be held at.
okay. Well, I mean, I think we have.
Council, this is Andrea Zellman, Deputy City Attorney. We can work with the clerk on a way to word the notice to address the location and to also advise people that that may be subject to change and provide a way by which they could find that information out. So we could work with the clerk. We've done that with some of the other things. We've slightly revised the notice letters, and we can do that for this purpose as well.
Okay, and we're more than 60 days out, so there's plenty of time to work with that, to see, you know, what the situation is going to be like closer to that time. So is that sufficient, clerk?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so we had a motion to set these for public hearings, or set the the hearings for July 16, 2020, 10:30 a.m. for all three, made by Councilmember Miranda with a second from Councilmember Viera. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so items 57 and 58 cannot be heard. No affidavit filed. May I have a motion to remove those from the agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
those have already been reset to June 23rd, 2020 at
Okay, so we don't
10:30
need
at
to
the
do it.
Tampa Convention Center.
Okay,
They need to be removed, though, Mr. Chairman, please.
they do. All right, then we get a motion to remove items 57 and 58 from the agenda.
So moved by Petro.
Good. Again, it's Andrea Zellman. Can I ask the clerk to clarify? I believe the cannot be heard, no affidavit filed language is a carryover, and that the hearing has now been rescheduled. Is that correct,
Yes,
Sam?
that is correct.
So they should not be removed from the agenda, correct?
Correct.
Thank
see.
you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So these are going to be renoticed, is that correct? Is that what's
Yes.
happening? Okay. So you want them to remain on the agenda then, but have that be in the action summary to be having been rescheduled?
Well, they're reflected on the final that they've already been rescheduled.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
All right. All right, we move on to item number 59, which and 60, which they are part 1 and part 2. I know they were discussed already by Councilmember Dingfelder and other council members. On item number 59, can I get a motion to move this resolution?
Miranda, move the resolution.
All right, we have a
Dingfelder,
motion from
second.
Councilmember with Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Dingfelder, second.
And a second from Councilmember Dingfelder. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, moving on to item number 60, which is part 2 of these two-part items. May I have a motion to move this resolution?
Miranda, move the resolution on 60.
We have a motion from
Citro,
Councilmember Miranda.
seconded.
Do we have a second? We have a second from Councilmember Citro. Roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. Now moving on to items 61 through 65, which are staff reports. We have written reports sent as shown on the agenda on each of these items. I do not believe staff would be present by this. Is this sufficient to City Council in accepting this as it is, meaning the written reports that were sent out?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir,
Okay, yes, sir. If I may, I wanted to briefly comment on item 61
and 65 whenever the chair would so permit.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it, sir. With regards to 61, we got a detailed memo from legal on that, and I again wanted to thank legal for their hard work on that. It goes without saying. What I was trying to do by virtue of this is to find methods and means by which the city of Tampa can encourage the use of certified apprenticeships in certain works done and projects done here in the city of Tampa for the city of Tampa. And right now I'm in talks with individuals in the commercial builders community, as well as some individuals in the labor movement, joint meetings in order to try to move this forward, but obviously consistent with the law. We don't want to get sued, and that's what part of that diplomacy is. Being an attorney, I know full well that diplomacy is the greatest preventer for litigation. So that's certainly what we're trying to do. And Mr. Chair, whenever I may talk about 65, did you want me to speak about that briefly, if I may?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. No, just with regards to 65, what I had requested a few months ago was some sort of a brief analysis by Tampa Fire with regards to another station for the North Tampa area. You know, Station 13 has been in the news a great deal because of all of the stresses that the men and women there have to undergo, because it's the busiest station in the city of Tampa, and as we know, in the top 50 or 60 consistently stations in the United States of America. It's quite remarkable. I appreciate the report and the hard work from Tampa Fire. Station 13, as you know, covers a lot of the North Tampa area. It's a very vast territory of the Copeland, Forest Hills, USF, Bush, Fowler, et cetera. Very, very large. I always visit Station 13, and these are some of the hardest working men and women here in the city of Tampa, and we're all proud of them. We know that if you all read a report that was given to us by the Tampa Firefighters Union, this area was previously identified by Tampa Fire Rescue as a heavy use area. Things I would assume haven't gotten better since 2015. We saw there in that report statistics on the average numbers of calls, and frankly, it's something that is, again, a great burden, a stress on these men and women. We know that it takes years to get a design, construction, and opening, not to mention a lot of money for Fire Station 13. So, or strike that, for help for Fire Station 13 for another station. So what I wanted to do was, again, just begin to dialogue. I'm fully aware, obviously, that we're in the midst of a pandemic crisis, and that our fiscal situation from where it was 4 months ago is not where it is now. But I think that we can't lose sight of long-term planning and vision, particularly whenever it comes to public safety. I appreciate the report from my good friends at Tampa Fire Rescue, especially because it's on the right and responsible track. Station 13, again, is one of the busiest stations around, and I think that the assistance that we recently received, thanks again to the leadership of Chief Nick, Mayor Castor, and others, with regards to the 2 peak unit rescues and the additional rescue unit at 13, is something that really shows, movement towards where we need to go. So, I'll be bringing this issue up as it further progresses, and I'll put a personal calendar on it to probably follow up in 6 to 9 months on it. But I just wanted to briefly talk about it, just put it in the sights of council members for something that is really, really going to be needed. And frankly, it's needed now. And so the dialogue, I think, needs to begin on it right now, and this report does that. So thank you to Tampa Fire Rescue. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, on items 61 through 65, any other council members have any questions or comments on these items?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, this is Martin Shelby. May I just make a brief comment? I just wanted to remind council and also remind the public that these memos, which you are going to be receiving and filing, have been provided by the administration with the understanding with City Council that during the COVID-19 pandemic, to relieve the burden on the administration, that these staff reports have been provided in writing to keep council moving and keep you informed. And the administration just wishes to remind council that they're appreciative of that as well, and to keep that going forward during the state of emergency if we can, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Shelby. Mr. Dingfelder, you had a comment, question?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. One, in regard to fire station or the fire station needs of North Tampa, and I appreciate Mr. Viera pointing that out and being so familiar with it as part of his district. I also wanted to point out that I noticed in the paper the zip code 33612, which includes that area, and the Bush Fowler area is also, I think, the hardest hit on the COVID cases in Hillsborough County, and I'm sure that probably has to exacerbate the work of first responders up there. In regard to item 62, and with all due respect to Mr. Shelby and your comments and Mr. Chief Bennett, as long as Mr. Baird is still on the line, could you speak to the use of the PIPES money, potential use of PIPES money to fund some additional WIMBY positions? Because I have a feeling that as the next year or two progresses, we're going to, the PIPES program is going to put a lot of pressure on the WIMBY folks, and it appears to me, or perhaps Ms. Wynn might want to chime in on this as well, that we're going to need some more WIMBY folks, minority business enterprise analysts, to keep up with the PIPES program. So, Chief Bennett, I'll let you orchestrate that as you see fit.
John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Thank you, Councilman Dingfelder. Obviously, as you know, this will be a triple effort between our legal department, our infrastructure and mobility department, as well as Ms. Wynn's section of equal business opportunity. And all of that dovetails into Mayor Castro's workforce initiative, which is one of the 4 advisory processes that have been in place since the administration started. So we're looking for an organic dovetail between those 2 opportunities, between the PIPES program and workforce development. So we will get back to you on that shortly.
Thank you very much.
What sort of time frame are we talking about? Coming into this year's budget, or are we looking at a future budget, or what?
The advisory recommendations are getting ready to be published. Once those are published and adopted by the administration, and we will be talking about a fiscal responsibility update at the end of the meeting for council's approval for options, and those things can be addressed. So yes, we are looking in the next 5 months ahead of FY21 to decide how we will take those recommendations and convert them into the projects that we are doing now and will be doing in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any other council members have any comments, questions on the staff report items 61 through 65? All right, seeing none, before we go to information reports and new business by council members, Mr. Shelby, I know that Chief of Staff Bennett had sent an email regarding the 3-hour special call meetings and whatnot, and I wanted you to just go into further detail on that and dates of when we can have these take place.
Sure. I'd like to defer to the Chief of Staff. The memo was sent to council on Tuesday afternoon. The Chief of Staff explained it within the memo, and I asked him to bring it forth to council for its consideration.
All right, John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Thank you, both Chairman and Mr. Shelby. As Mr. Shelby mentioned, we circulated an email through his office to council, and this is an adaptation to the COVID-19 emergency. As you recall, we sent in information to have special call meetings, if you will, prior to COVID-19 related to the fiscal year 21 budget development process, with the goal of informing council early as opposed to near the end of the budget adoption. And in talking to Mr. Dennis Rajero, our Chief Financial Officer, and our budget officer, we thought that we would offer this adaptation option to council before the compression of the agendas start in June with the quasi-judicial hearings. And so what was put together was a draft agenda in the email, as well as some date options. The draft agenda was comprised of giving council a 6-month current fiscal year FY20 update, so you understood where we were by the midpoint of this fiscal year. Getting a COVID-19 fiscal responsibility risk update to the budget based on revenues and expenditures and FEMA dollars and other potentials for recovery. Provide council with staff present virtually a Q&A session for up to an hour to ask staff for options and ideas going into fiscal year 21 that work towards the city's strategic plan, an update on the One Tampa Relief program, as well as a fiscal update on the PIPES program. So those items were offered, and again, there was a 3-hour block identified, but the goal would be able to do this in 2 hours, 1 hour for all of the updates I just described, and then leaving up to an hour for council to ask substantive and planning-based questions for fiscal year 21 to staff. And the dates that were offered were Tuesday, May 19th, starting at 9 a.m. with a target ending of 12, but hopefully 11 a.m. The second option, which Mr. Shelby recommended, and we adopted as probably the second best, would be the same time, 9 to 12 in the morning on the 28th, which is a workshop that has already been there. And I believe the agenda is fairly light for that. The third option would be the afternoon of May 21st after the morning regular agenda, which is 2 weeks from today. And then the last option, which I don't recommend but is doable, is to embed this 2 to 3 hour session on the back end of the morning agenda of the 21st regular agenda, but that would elongate the agenda period 2 weeks from now. So those were the 4 options proposed. We're open to any other options. We don't want to miss this opportunity to work with council on the budget prep, as well as the briefings related to the mid-year and the COVID crisis that we're all in as it relates to planning fiscal year 21. But we're also open to other options. And I'm not sure if Mr. Rogero has any comments or not, Chairman.
All right, Mr. Rogero, if you're still on the line.
Yes, sir. Hello and congratulations. This is Dennis Rogero. No, I think Chief of Staff covered everything very well. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Shelby or other members of council, we see that there are a few different dates and times. I'm open for anything works for me. So I'll put it out there to everyone else. Mr. Shelby?
Yes, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reminded council late yesterday that the clerk had released its updated calendar dated May 6th, and it would be helpful for council to be able to refer to it, to be able to guide them in your decision this morning. Just a reminder with regard to the May 28 meetings, those have both been canceled, both the workshop session and the evening session. So there's nothing presently scheduled at all for council for May 28th. Your next regular meeting is on the 21st. And again, that would require, if you do it on the afternoon of the 21st, you'd have to have 2 separate call-in sessions, one for the morning and then one to come back in the afternoon. And we've done that in the past. And that requires a separate setup for a separate meeting, 2 meetings in one day. Also, council, and I don't know how the administration feels about this, just to bring it to your attention, you have a workshop scheduled in June, on June 18th, and frankly, that's going to have to be looked at to see whether council wants to go forward with what's on that workshop day, but that's also an available day in the morning, with a reminder that you do have an evening session with 15 hearings that night at 6 p.m. So as Mr. Bennett has set forth, you have several options, and I'm prepared to assist you looking at the calendar to fit it into your agenda.
All right, I'm looking here. Tuesday, May 19th, which is a day that we typically do not meet. Of course, it's a Tuesday from 9 to 12 with a goal of 9 to 11. That would make, in my opinion, the most sense. Or May 28th, which is a canceled session, is wide open. We would have been here anyway for a meeting and can do a 9 a.m. to 12. That's my opinion. Those days are open. Do any council members have any opinions regarding this special call meeting?
This is Dingfelder. I'll move the May 19th suggestion. I think it's important that we address these issues as early as possible. And I'm speaking just for myself. I'm available on the 19th. I also want to talk a little bit more, Mr. Chairman, after you take this vote on some other staff report issues.
All right. Well, we'll focus on this special call first. Anybody have, well, would that be a formal motion for Tuesday, May 19th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Councilman Dingfelder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion to set the special call meeting for Tuesday, May 19th, 9 to 12. Do we have a second?
Citro will second.
All right, we have a second from Councilmember Citro. Any discussion on this motion? All right, seeing none or hearing none, we will take a roll call vote to accept this special call meeting and set it for Tuesday, May 19th, 9 to 12. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, may I verify this will be a virtual meeting?
Yes, it will.
Okay, roll call. Dingfelder?
Yes.
Booth?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right. Mr. Shelby, is there anything else, or does that take care of that?
That brings, that takes care of that. I have one more item of new business, which we can take care of after council brings up their new business.
Okay, we'll leave that. Councilmember Dingfelder, you said you had another question regarding the one of the staff reports?
Yeah, not specifically those staff reports, but as you recall, a couple months ago, Chief Bennett sent a memo to us suggesting that we have a series of workshops. I can't remember the details exactly, but like 2 hours each, where his various department heads, administrators would come in and give us reports on what they're doing, what's new, where we're headed, just generally like 10 minutes from each of the individual departments with some Q&A. And I think we all thought it was a great idea at the time. Obviously, other things got in the way and that didn't get scheduled. I think now that things are hopefully getting a little bit back to normal and council's trying to get a little bit back on track, I think those reports are extremely valuable. I mean, obviously we can all make our own phone calls and talk to department heads individually, but that's sort of cumbersome and not as transparent to the public as these discussions should be. So I would like a quick discussion, Mr. Chairman, and perhaps some input from Mr. Bennett if those reports are still available in a public way. And then if council's amenable, maybe we could schedule. What I was thinking about was, and my wife's gonna be mad at me because the 28th is her birthday, but I was thinking about using May 28th in the morning, as well as, which is a canceled workshop, as well as June 18th, which is another probably canceled workshop, and use those 2 dates to accomplish those, I don't know, for lack of a better term, department briefings.
Okay. Chief of Staff.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Chief of Staff Bennett, do you have a response to that?
John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Thank you. To Councilman Dingfelder's request, yes, that was the intention that we led into this concession meeting for now that it has been approved for the 19th trying to blend all of that energy into those 2 to 3 hours that you just voted on. However, the administration is still very interested in talking with council by portfolio. We had originally established 2 hours per portfolio with the 4 administrators, and we could do those in workshop, taking 2 portfolios per session. They will come past, and of course, in the budget development space, to Councilman Dingfelder's earlier point, the faster that we get this input, while we're both handling the emergency and working in a teleworking environment, it does take a little extra time for staff to put things together and meet on those in a virtual manner. So we're open to it. Obviously, we're still in a state of emergency and there's a lot of work to do, but you know, again, this is something that's been a strong interest of the administration going into the fiscal year planning prior to COVID, and it's probably going to be just as important to have efficiency, effectiveness, and equity going into fiscal year 21. So that said, if there was a motion for 2 portfolios per session that were identified by those dates, staff would work to accommodate those.
All right. Councilman Dingfelder, does that answer your questions, everything?
Yes, if you'd entertain a motion just to kind of bring it to a head. And I believe the 28th would be a virtual meeting, but the June 18th, actually, we could do it at the convention center since we'll be operating at the convention center in June. So just to get it to a head, I'll move that we schedule those administrative briefings to council 2 at a time for 2 hours each, approximately 2 hours each, on the morning of the May 28th at 9 a.m. and the morning, and that would probably be virtual, and then the morning of June 18th, likely at the convention center at 9 a.m.
All right, now for June 18th, it's already on the calendar. 10 a.m. workshop, 2-hour session, conduct departmental briefings. So that's there. So really, the motion would be for May 28th, which is wide open.
If we could take them separately, Mr. Chairman, that would be helpful.
If you could take them separate.
I'll split them out. My first motion would be May 28th virtual meeting, 9 a.m. on May 28th for the department administrative briefing.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Dingfelder. Do we have a second?
And this is Councilman. Oh, and this is Councilman Viera, if I may.
All right, go ahead.
Just really quick, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also, I'm going to vote for this, but I would just urge the chair to have a private discussion with the administration on once Chief Bennett is able to speak to staff, et cetera, because May 28th is a couple of weeks away, and given the fact that we're still in this pandemic, it may be difficult for staff, certainly not to intervene or anything of that nature, but just as an in case. I'm glad to vote yes, but just I would.
Sure. No, I'll have the discussion with the administration so this moves along smoothly and there's no hiccups and everyone is prepared. So, all right, we have a motion from Councilmember Dingfelder. I believe the second one was from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call, please.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, Martin Shelby, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have one request with regard to this motion. Can this meeting be referred to as a virtual special call workshop, so it'll be noticed as such?
That's fine. Virtual for May, and then in June we'll discuss that because of the convention center. So roll call vote.
Dingfelder? Dingfelder? Goose?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
I'm going to try Dingfelder again. Motion carried with, Dean Felder not responding.
All right. I mean, he was the maker of the motion. Does it
true.
even, now what happens?
Well, under Robert's rules, the maker of the motion normally is required to vote in favor of it. Is Councilmember Dingfelder there? Because he also
He may have lost connection.
Yes, he also had the second item. So maybe what we can do is we can hold this for just a few more minutes, just to.
All right, let's go to then information reports and new business by council members. We'll go down the line. Councilmember Carlson, do you have anything?
Thanks, everybody, and congrats to everybody, and thank you to Chairman Viera and Chairman Seacher for their leadership in the last year, and everyone else. You know, you all know one of the issues that I'm most interested in is the economy and ending economic disparities throughout our community. And if I was supposed to have presented the update to the Tampa Scorecard a month ago. If you all haven't seen it, the website is still up, tampascorecard.com. All we did is we updated the numbers, so you can see through 2018 the numbers were very similar. And again, what it shows is that Tampa didn't do very well economically in the last 8 to 10 years, and that's compared to our peers and compared to the benchmark cities that we want to compete with. Besides the issues like or the numbers like median household income, there's also great disparities by gender and great disparities by race. And so 8 or so years ago, there was a committee of the city and a committee of the county. Each of them were similarly named, called the Economic Competitiveness Committees, and they were criticized when they came back with their recommendations because 80 or 90% of the recommendations were related to real estate development. And if you look at the economics of our community, and USF can come give us, you know, all the granular detail if you want, but if you look at the economics of our community and how we tracked, we did pretty well in real estate. We didn't do excellent. You know, every downtown in the state boomed. Every downtown had lots of condos, and every downtown even had someone like Jeff Vinik, a billionaire, making big investments. So we need to work on economic diversity and bringing everybody along. If we really want to be one of the greatest cities in the world, we've got to work on our numbers because, as Moaz from USF says, the Amazons of the world, the big companies of the world, know our real numbers. They don't just look at what we present, they know the real numbers. And they won't just come here, these are my words, not his, they won't just come here because of subsidies. In the past, the economic development was about recruiting companies from places like New York so they could have cheaper labor and cheaper taxes. And we need to work on diversifying. So with that in mind, I would like to make a motion. Let me read it here real fast. I would like to make a motion that City Council, working with City and City Council staff, establish an economic advisory committee whose purpose would be to give quarterly updates to City Council with recommendations for how the city can address the issues of economic growth, economic diversification, reducing poverty, improving median household income, and ending gender and racial disparities in income. This committee will have 23 members who would serve one-year terms. Each City Council member would appoint 2 members. The mayor would appoint 3 members. Hillsborough County, the Tampa Bay EDC, the Tampa Bay Chamber, USF Muma College of Business, Tampa International Airport, and Port Tampa Bay would each appoint 1 member. A chair would be elected once a year. City and City Council staff are asked to develop the rules and reporting procedures of the committee and report back to us. I haven't set a date for it yet if you all agreed to do this, but I'd like to, if you would approve it today. The idea is to have the city staff, working with City Council staff, come back to us with recommendations on how to put this forward, and then you'll have one final vote to go or no go. The idea here is to have a diverse representation of the community that would regularly give the city and City Council advice on where the economy is going, and ideally these major partners that would have a permanent seat would give advice and updates and data to them to give them to help direct them on what their recommendations could be.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. Do we have a second and any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Dingfelder. I'm sorry, my phone died and now I'm back on. I'll second Councilman Carlson's motion. I think the intent of the motion is to do this on a preliminary basis and have it come back. I didn't hear a date on when it would come back, Bill.
I need to, because the schedule, because the calendar is so confusing at this point with things being canceled and everything. I'm not sure. I wanted to make sure you all are in favor of it, and then we could pick a date. One question that may come up, by the way, is we are facing a current crisis, but the crisis that's coming, other than the pandemic, is going to be the economic crisis, and we're potentially facing unemployment upwards of 20% or more. The problems of economic disparity that we were facing 3 or 4 months ago are going to be exponentially increased, and this would help us get ahead of the curve and show that we, as a unified city council mayor, are addressing the issues, working with our partners in the county.
All right.
It sounds like the motion is kind of conceptual at this point, and I'll support it and look for input from the administration and other partners, but I'll second it for at this time.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson with a second from Councilmember Dingfelder. All in favor, roll call, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Petro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, Mr. Carlson, Councilmember Carlson, any other new business?
No, thanks everyone. That's all I have.
Mr. Carlson, I apologize. Excuse me, this is Andrea Zelma. Just for clarification, is it the request that staff report back to the council on the feasibility of this and the schedule for it? And I wasn't clear on whether on the exact,
not on feasibility, just on how structurally it would be put together. And I forgot to pick a date. Is it Marty? Is it possible to choose a date now? And I can send the language that I just read off. I can send it to city staff as well.
How much time? The question is, how much do you want it to come back with preliminary recommendations, or do you want to come back as a or do you want it to come back with decision points for council, assuming there are decision points?
Yeah, just to come back and talk about how they would put it together. And city staff, I think these committees in the past have been partially run by city council staff, not just city staff. And so the idea would be to come back and tell us, how they would recommend it being, it would be physically put together. And then that also would be the final go, no go for city council to look at and evaluate the idea.
And also a reminder, it would be the way it's supposed to be structured, would be a sunshine board as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Marty, is there a date that you would recommend?
Hang on one second. I'm on a council. Let me turn down my council conference call.
You have to put mute it.
Are you looking for how long do you want to give the administration to investigate and evaluate and to work with?
At least a month.
Do you want to look into the July meeting then as well? You want to do it, say like July?
Can we do it early June? Is there a time early June?
You have a meeting on, your first meeting is June 4th, and your second meeting would be on June 23rd.
Mr. Chair, do we have, or Marty, do we have time on June 4th or June 11th?
Let's see, June 4th, June 11th, we have an evening, we have evening sessions on both. June 11th is a CRA meeting with an evening meeting. We have 11 rezonings in the evening with 3 alcoholic beverage, and then not CRA is of course CRA. So not
June 4th, do we have time?
The 4th, you would have to do it in the daytime because the evening has 18. There's 20 items for that evening session.
I don't think this discussion would take more than 15 minutes.
All right, then let's do it during the June 4th regular session.
We do it under staff reports and unfinished business?
Yeah, put it towards the end. We have several items there, but it doesn't look like I mean, you never know, but looking at it from here, it doesn't appear to be very heavy.
there may very well be, just so council is aware, second readings coming back that were canceled as a result of the COVID-19 state of emergency that are going to have to be coming back for council, and they may very well end up on the June 4th as well. But it looks like there's room to count for council to do it.
And if we keep it within a reasonable time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, then it should be fine. So
yeah, I would just ask whoever from staff would work on it, just work with my staff, and we'll figure this out. One aside related to this, I sat through the Florida Bar CLE yesterday. I don't know if anybody else did, regarding cities holding quasi-judicial meetings virtually, and there's all kinds of different opinions throughout the state, and our city attorney is taking a very conservative approach, which I appreciate. It looks like people are estimating that this crisis is going to last a lot longer than anybody anticipated, and so we may end up with virtual quasi-judicial meetings as well sometime mid-year, end of year. Anyway, thank you, everybody.
If I can,
all right, so
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry. If
Mr.
I can,
Shelby?
Mr. Chairman, yes, just to close out this item, this motion that Councilman Carlson made, is he adding that as part of the motion to come back under staff reports on June 4th? Was that done by the clerk? I just want to be clear that it would show
That
up
has not been done yet.
Does that have to be a separate vote?
Separate motion is set because the other motion's already been voted on.
Okay, I would move
so
that, please.
All right, so we have this motion from Councilmember Carlson. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, Joseph Citro here.
Yes, sir.
I will second the motion. However, I'd like to see if we can ask staff. There's a lot of businesses going to be coming up. We're going to be in a lot of meetings coming up. There are a lot of things going on within the city right now. Can we ask staff how their timeline is so that they feel comfortable giving us the correct information that will not be rushed? Is that amenable to Councilman Carlson?
Yes, I think if we set June 4th and then staff comes back and says they need longer, then we'll just come back and propose a different time.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. Who seconded the motion?
Citro.
I did.
Second from Councilman Citro. Roll call vote, please.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Viera.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, is that all, Councilmember Carlson?
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
All right, next up, Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two little things. One, item 20 that we passed earlier, I just want to say thank you to Dennis Rogero, Mark Perry, and a special thanks to Lee Hofsteffer and his staff. Lee and his staff did an outstanding job, and the Government Finance Officers Association issued a Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Finance reporting to the City of Tampa, and I just want to say thank you very much. On the second issue, a little bit more in detail and depth, I'm going by memory. And when you look at finances and you understand what happened in the past and what we're going in the future, from 2008 to about 2017, the city lost in excess of $283 million in lost revenues from devaluation of properties. I'm not saying that's coming, but it could be coming and becoming sooner than what we think. And communication tax in that city lost approximately $68 million during that same time from 2008 to 2017. In addition, if I recall, health insurance rose from the same years of 2011 to 2018 about $17 million. So it was not an easy going, and we lost hundreds of millions of dollars that we had from monies coming in from grants and certain things from other governments that we were holding in interest of many millions of dollars. So what I'm saying is, I would like to see the administration bring periodic updates to this council, and it doesn't have to be on a monthly basis, but every bi-monthly on what's happening or what they think is coming in the finance side. I'm not saying that we're going to have these catastrophic losses. I hope we don't, but we have to be prepared for whatever's coming. And the only way of being prepared is by knowing what is coming. And that's why I'm asking this, that we can ask the administration to bring us their adjustments of what they think is going to happen will we come to the final budget before that September 2nd reading.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Miranda?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Councilman Citro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do appreciate it. Just some simple house cleaning, and I hope you don't mind. We have on the 14th of May what was supposedly supposed to be scheduled as a quarterly report from FDOT during a CRA meeting. If memory serves me correctly, we had moved those quarterly reports of FDOT to City Council. So I hope that we can get those cleared up. Mr. Chair, I would like to move for staff to appear to discuss Tampa City Council going green by providing City Council members with iPads or some other sort of tablets to drastically cut and or reduce the amount of paper that is used for council and council meetings. I'm asking for the budget department to appear as well as the IT department to speak on the feasibility, the costs, and the transition period to accomplish this. Now, Mr. Chair, I do understand that we are very, very tight in time, and there's things that are going to need to be done both for City Council and staff. So I'd like to ask this if it could be done on July 30th at 9 o'clock, and I feel that it would take no more than 10 minutes for this report to be done.
All right, that's a great motion. Do we have a second for the motion by Councilmember Citro?
Second, Carlson.
All right, we have a second from Councilmember Carlson. Roll call vote, please. Oh, actually, any discussion on the motion?
Just a clarification, what specifically, what is the motion?
It's to see about going to iPads or other electronic devices to reduce paper waste by printing up all of our agendas and backup material. And to get a report about that and the cost.
Okay, so the way it is right now is the agenda is available on the computer. Sometimes I look at it on the computer like last month because I'm not at the office with paper, but sometimes I want paper. I think that should be available up to each councilman to be able to print out portions of the agenda or all the agenda at the councilman's discretion. Sometimes it's easier to read a paper agenda than it is on the computer, depending on how much backup there is. But anyway, I don't have a problem with the staff report. The agenda is already online, so thank you.
All right, we had a motion from Councilmember Citro with a second from Councilmember Carlson. Roll call vote, please.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Gooch? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, anything else, Councilman Citro?
Chair, no, not at this time. I thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Viera.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, if I may. I request that we schedule a time for former County Commissioner Mark Sharp and Tampa Innovation to come to Tampa City Council for, I don't think this will take more than 10, 15 minutes in June, to update us on the Uptown Strategic Plan, where they will be making a request for funds for planning purposes for the Business or Innovation District for the North Tampa USF area as part of the agreement within our memorandum of understanding that we had approved, I believe it was a few months ago. Some members had been talking about economic development here in the city of Tampa and taking a long-term view on poverty and making sure that rising tide lifts all boats. I know Councilman Carlson spoke very eloquently about that when we began our remarks, and this is certainly something that is consistent with that. So I would move for that to occur on the first available date within June. I would leave it up to the chair because I don't have the calendar here.
I'm looking at June 25th. It's a regular session, of course, at the convention center, and we have an evening session, which is busy, but that 9 a.m. session, if June 25th works.
Okay, and then I would leave it to the chair as to whether or not they will appear via Zoom or whatever it may be for safety purposes, depending on how many folks we have there. But that would be amenable to me.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Viera. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, what time was, under what part of the agenda is that set for?
June 25th, 9 a.m. I would say during ceremonial activities at the beginning. We don't have anything else scheduled ceremonial that I see on the calendar for that date at the convention center.
Correct.
All right. Anybody else? No? All right. Can we take a roll call on the on this motion? Vote.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Viera?
No, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and congratulations to everyone. And I just wanted to say, if I may, a real thanks to my aide, Brandon Jordan Lazo, who has worked over the last year throughout a lot of different challenges for helping us all. Brandon is just a wonderful woman, mother, friend, and wife, and she occupies a lot of roles in that. And this is a hat that she wore really well, and I know that we're all in her debt. So God bless her. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, before you conclude, I just had a quick housekeeping item. I apologize. It's Andrea Zellman, Deputy City Attorney.
Wait, we still have two council members to go
Oh,
on
I'm
the.
so sorry. I'm so
business.
sorry.
But I'll get to you
apologize.
when. No
I
problem.
thought V was the last one. Apologize.
No, Councilmember Goods.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and looking forward to your great leadership this year. I'd like the staff to come back at our next scheduled city council meeting and give a discussion, an update of the businesses in the COVID-19 project we've got going down in the different zones, and see how so I can find out how the businesses are doing. Is it working as far as the businesses being able to get up to par? I think it'd be good to get an update on that.
All right. Do you have a date on that?
I guess our next city council date.
Chairman, it's John Bennett.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Councilman Goods, that is one of the agenda items for the 19th is the One Tampa update. If that'll suffice, we can put that in there for the meeting on the 19th.
That'll suffice. Thank you, sir.
All right. Anything else, Councilmember Goods?
That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Dingfelder, you had made a motion a few minutes ago, but I think the line had disconnected, and we did not take a vote on it because you were the maker of the motion, and we're not available by phone. Do you want to restate that motion, or it's already been stated? But if the clerk wants to take a vote on that now that you're present, and then go into other new business.
I appreciate that, and I apologize to council and the community. My technical skills are not the best. But yeah, that the motion I think related to the 28th, 9 in the morning, and motion stands, and I think we already had a second. So thank you for deferring the vote, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Madam Clerk, if we could go ahead and take a vote on that item that was set for May 28th.
May 28th.
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and Councilmember Dingfelder, you had to make a separate motion, I believe, for June 18th. Is that correct?
Well, that's where I was headed, but then there was some question of that was already on the schedule. So, Mr. Shelby.
Yeah, it's already on the calendar printed.
May I make a suggestion, council, with regard to your June 18th meeting, because this is going to be your first in-person workshop? Perhaps you schedule this for 9 a.m. Did you want to have the commendation at that site with social distancing, or do you want to reschedule those commendations as you have up until this point, until the pandemic is over?
I think we can leave it up to, I say a police officer of the month, up to their discretion if they feel comfortable, depending on how many family members or friends they have, if they're comfortable with the social distancing. If not, we can always schedule it at a later date. I know the convention center is a much more open, larger space, but, I want to make sure that the officer of the month and any other members participating, family and friends and whatnot, colleagues, are, if they're comfortable. If they're not comfortable, then have them let us know, and then we can reschedule it to, a later date when things settle down.
Okay, there was a question that had come up. There's already on that schedule the 2-hour session for the departmental briefings scheduled for 10 o'clock. You can move that till 9 o'clock. There's also another 10 o'clock workshop that you may want to consider rescheduling somewhere down the line, and that was for the legal department, planning and development, and the Hillsborough County Planning Commission to appear and discuss ways on how to plan growth and protect areas that do not want growth. I don't know whether you wish to remove that from the June workshop and reschedule it at a time more appropriate after the pandemic state of emergency has ended.
I think, I would leave it up to them, members of the Planning Commission, legal department. If we see that they're uncomfortable and they make the request to do so, we can always move it forward. We still have a little bit of time and a few meetings before that date, seeing how things head. But I would leave it, and not to mess too much with the calendar, leave it as it is until, unless they make a request.
The way it stands now is my recommendation would be to move the workshop up. And how long do you want to spend for the departmental briefings? And then you can adjust your time for the second workshop. But the calendar, the way it's set up, will need to be adjusted to accommodate Councilmember Dingfelder's motion.
All right. Any suggestion from council members?
Mr. Chair, this is Andrea Zellman. I apologize again. If it would help, there's already been some issues raised regarding the June 18 workshop topic, that it may overlap with some of the issues that are being addressed in some ongoing litigation, particularly with regard to questions regarding parts of the city that, are less interested in growth. So perhaps it would be a good idea to continue that item out into the future until we determine a date that we're more comfortable moving forward with that.
Well, I mean, if your legal opinion is to, what is the rest of council? How does the rest of council feel about what was just said? Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, John Dingfelder, I'm sorry, Ms. Grimes, go ahead. Is Ms. Grimes chiming in?
No, it was
okay.
Zellman.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I agree. I've heard that they want to defer that topic because it has some potential conflict with litigation. So I'm comfortable with that. I think I was the original maker of the motion on that workshop topic. So what I'd like to do, and I'll do it by separate vote, Mr. Shelby, is right now I'll make a motion to defer that planning and zoning issue until until September, our September workshop.
The 24th?
I'll just make that as a singular motion for now.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Dingfelder. If we have a second to that, anyone?
Second by Miranda.
We have a second from Councilmember Carlson for September 24th at that workshop session. All in favor, roll call.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goods? Goods? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And I would show motion carried, and with Goods not responding, so absent.
All right. Anything
Mr. Chairman,
else?
Just as a follow-up in regard to Mr. Shelby's suggestion, I'll move the staff department briefing, move it from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. or let's say, I don't know, 9:10, in case there's other things we need to chat. Let's say 9:15 to 9:15 on June. What was it? June. Excuse me.
18th, the 18th of June.
June 18th. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion from Councilmember Dingfelder. Do we have a second to this motion?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Goods. Roll call vote.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda, Carlson.
Yes.
And may you verify if Miranda was voting yes or no?
Councilmember Miranda, are you on the line?
Yes, I said yes.
Yes. So,
Motion carried.
all right. Anything else, Councilmember Dingfelder?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I know Andrea Zellman had an item, and then Council Attorney Shelby also as well. So if we can go to Andrea Zellman, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, as you know, we had a large number of consent agenda items approved by the mayor using her emergency powers during the 3 hearings that were canceled. However, there were some items on those 3 agendas that had to be deferred because they could not be approved without city council approval. I mean, they could not be executed by the mayor, I should say, without city council approval. So just to clean that housekeeping up, I would ask that the council make a motion directing the clerk to add any of the deferred items from those 3 canceled meetings to the upcoming agendas. And our office is happy to work with the clerk's office to make sure we properly identify those. Some of the items were added to today's agenda, but there are still some others that would need to be added to future agendas. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to that degree from any council member?
I'll move Viera.
All right. We have a motion from Council Member Viera. Do we have a second? With a second from Councilman Citro.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Petro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried. And may I verify who seconded? It sounded like Citro.
That is correct.
Yes, I believe it was, yes.
Motion carried on that motion.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Zellman?
No, thank you.
All right. Mr. Shelby.
Yes, Council, a quick request. There's been some confusion. I'd like it to be put to rest with a motion to affirm that the location for all meetings in June, including the CRA, as it's reflected on the calendar, be held at the Tampa Convention Center, 333 South Franklin Street, Tampa, Florida, 33602, in meeting rooms 4 through 17 on the first floor, channel entrance only.
Mr. Chair,
right.
is that rooms 14 through 17? Not 4 through 17?
It's 14 through 17 is what shows on the calendar, and that's, I believe that's what was in the notices. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
What I see is
just wanted to
14 through
verify. I thought
17,
you said
first
4.
floor.
Yes.
Yeah, first floor, channel entrance only. That's exactly what it says on all of them. Yeah.
So if that could be the
Mr.
form
Chair,
of a motion.
Joseph
Yes,
Joseph
Mr.
Citro, so moved.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Citro. Do we have a second?
Second, Councilman Goods.
And a second from Councilmember Goods. Roll call vote.
Dean Powder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And all right, I have nothing myself unless there's anything new. No. All right. Can I get a motion to receive and file?
So move.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda with a second from Councilmember Dingsfelder. Roll call vote to receive and file.
Dean Powder,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the state of Florida, 1,314 deaths. We, according to Dr. Lockwood, hit our peak in this community back in April, the first week of April. Now, that can be a little confusing because the positive tests continue to go up, but that's a relative number relative to the number of tests that we're giving. And so we're still on that downward trajectory, which is a good thing. And we need to keep it that way. So please, I encourage everyone to go out and get tested. You should be able to find those locations and those times on Hillsborough County's website. Also, you can call 813-272-5900 to make an appointment. If the line is busy, I know it's frustrating, please call back and make an appointment and go out and get tested. The more data we have, the better informed we are, and the better decisions that we can make regarding your health and safety. So very, very important. The Hillsborough County has also opened up a helpline to provide relief for individuals that live within Hillsborough County to help with rent and mortgage and utility payments. And you can call 813-274-6710 to apply for that. And I encourage you all to do that. And that line may be busy as well, but again, call back. And if for some reason they have run out of funding, there was $15 million in the CARES Act that was put towards that relief program. And if that runs out, it's my hope that they will put additional funding into that. So please call if you need that assistance. As we all know, the governor announced that he is going to phase 1 of opening up our state. What that means for us locally is that we are going to open up some of our parks, and there will be a list forthcoming. It will be on our website by late afternoon. I guess it is late afternoon, but it'll definitely be there this evening. And that will have a listing of all of the parks that we are going to open up. You will be able to have small exercise groups, and by small, that means no more than 10, and you have to be able to do the 6-foot distance separation. The restrooms and the playground facility will not be open, so don't count on that. The dog parks will be open. Boat ramps, canoe launches will be open, or kayak launches will be open as well. And then we're also opening our beaches, and we will have our code enforcement and law enforcement monitoring to make sure that we don't have large crowd gatherings there. Also, what the governor's order said was that retail and restaurants could open with 25% capacity. So look for an announcement on that as well. We're doing all we can to help out our restaurants and our retail locations as well. It's critically important that our economy, get back open, but that we do it very thoughtfully and we do it very, very slowly and very methodically. Another reminder to complete your census, critically important, and everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to complete the census. You can fill out the paper application or survey that landed in your mailbox. If you didn't get that, you just go online to census.gov. This is what determines how much funding we get from the federal government. It is critically important that everyone be counted. So please go fill out that census and make sure your neighbors, when you go outside tonight at 6 p.m. for the dance party, the iHeart dance party, make sure you yell at your neighbors, fill out your census. Very, very important. It's how we get our funding, and it's also how we get our political representation in Washington, D.C. So we want our voice to be heard, and we want our citizens to be counted. Go to tampagov.net for all the COVID-19 information you ever wanted. We've got all kinds of information on there. And if there's something that you can't find on there, please give us a call and we will find the answer and add the information for you. All right, now let's get to our guest, Michael Francis. He was appointed music director of the Florida Orchestra in the fall of 2014. He is now entering his 5th season with a contract extension through 2023-2024 season. His role in building a wide variety of transformative community engagement initiatives has significantly grown the orchestra. And I tell you, my hat's off to you because you really have come up with some very, very creative ways to engage the youth in our community and also entertain all ages. So thank you for what you do. So a former double bass player in the London Symphony Orchestra, Michael Francis came to prominence as a conductor in January of 2007, stepping in for Valerie Gergiev and John Adams with the LSO. And we are lucky to have him in Tampa today. So welcome, Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
On your 1-year anniversary. What an easy year you've had, particularly the last few months.
Isn't it? I mean, that's like people are like, what about? I go, oh, come on, this is nothing, pandemic, whatever. Anybody, we can handle it all. There's no doubt about it. I just like the quote that a friend of mine said, that the month of March was the longest year of their life. So, it really does feel like that. It's like, my goodness, all the days are running together. So
you're doing a marvelous job, and I think we all recognize that. So thanks.
I appreciate it. We have an incredible team, and our community is just unbelievable. That's the reason that we have been able to be successful in reducing the number of cases, is the response from the community, everyone taking their level of personal responsibility very seriously. And so I'm humbled to be a part of this community, and I couldn't be more proud of the way that we have responded to help each other out. And also, again, just realizing our level of personal responsibility in this and doing what we can to keep the transmission to a minimum. So we have hit May. This is it, May 1 today, which would normally be the grand finale for the Florida Orchestra season. So what's it been like for the TFO not to be able to perform live for the community as this crisis unfolds?
I would say, well, thank you for the question. I would say very difficult. I mean, for us, of course, art is a time, and concerts are a time for people to come together. Yes. Both the moments of healing, both of inspiration, they're entertaining, but there are moments where we learn empathy for each other. Mm-hmm. And so this feels like the time in which we should be offering the most amount of music, and live music, because nothing else is like that. So to not be able to perform at this time, of course, it's necessary that we protect everybody, but equally cruel that we can't allow our talents and gifts and this wonderful music to be able to really heal and reach the people. So strange, disconcerting, and somewhat sad but necessary.
Yes, yes, so true. And I have noticed that in the last couple of weeks, they've had small little pop-up concerts on the roof of some of the buildings downtown. And those things just bring, to your point, it can never be the same as live, but it's just whatever way we are able as a community to come together is wonderful. And trust me, we are going to have a big party when this is over, and the TFO will be a large part of that. So even without the concerts, how are you keeping the music alive, and how are you keeping it going in our community?
Well, I mean, we still believe that people need answers. What we've seen, of course, is that I think this whole isolation shows how utterly essential the arts are.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being at home now without the arts, without music, without reading, without poetry, without television or movies? I mean, every time you watch a movie, you're listening to an orchestra. So I think what we've seen is how essential we are. So what we want to make sure is that we've been reaching out, and through our Facebook pages and TFO at home, we've been having videos. We've actually put the whole orchestra together, everybody isolated in their own spot, and then actually able to perform. So that's really been incredible. So short video Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 4, we're making new things all the time. And we've been broadcasting concerts on Thursday nights. So really trying to keep going, and our musicians have been stellar in reaching out and doing huge amounts of things for all the people who, of course, are desperately missing us.
Right. And thank goodness for technology so that, you are able to bring that. So I have to ask you something. So with the movies, when you watch those, it's always, it's interesting because as I get older, I can, my hearing goes. And so I like to put on the captions, and I always have to read when it says like tense music, suspenseful music, those kind of things. And it annoys my family, but it makes me laugh. So that's all that matters. But, so when you're watching a movie, do you sometimes get so focused on the music that you miss the dialogue in the movie? I mean, sort of as it's like it's your profession and it's your trade, it's your craft. So do you just get lost?
I think you make a good point. I mean, for example, if you watch Jaws without the music on, it's an advert for Martha's Vineyard. It's nothing. Yeah. But you put on John Williams at the bottom, it's terrifying. When I was in a London Symphony Orchestra, I was fortunate to play on the soundtracks for Star Wars, Harry Potter's, and I did some of the Lord of the Rings. So I'm part of the films that you hear. And so I do tune into it, of course, and hear it. What I hear the most, which is often annoying for my family, is I'll hear when they're making mistakes or the intonation is not quite right. Then I get, they're out of tune. That really annoys my wife.
Oh, I'll bet. That's right. Just when the important part, the dramatic part is happening, you're like, they're out of tune. And I always tell everyone too, when they visit Florida and they talk about, going into the water and sharks and things, I said, look, it's all safe. I said, the only time you need to worry is when you start to hear Donna. Unfortunately, they don't, kids don't even get that anymore. And now they laugh at Jaws. I mean, that just petrified us when we were young. But anyway, so what do you think about the coronavirus pandemic and what that has taught us about the arts? Do you feel has it resulted in a deeper appreciation for the arts?
I think so. I think what we realize is, of course, how much we're missing community. And one of the great things that arts do, as well as provide tremendous economic value to a community, is, of course, they're designed to bring people together. And even though we can respond digitally, there is nothing like sharing it, because if you watch a movie on your own, you might laugh, but if you watch it with all your friends, it's suddenly hilarious. It's amplified. And that's the same when you listen to music. It's a totally different experience listening with your headphones, where you can do other things. But when you're in a concert, you turn your phone off and you engage, and you listen to the conductor or whomever talking about the composer, teaching you and guiding you. Everything changes in that. And so I think what this taught us is how absolutely important it is that we go back to the old-fashioned thing of just live, being together, sharing it, eating together. I mean, restaurants, of course, they're wonderfully artistic as well, but just we need each other, and the arts are the ultimate epitome of how to bring a community together.
Yes, without a doubt, without a doubt. And it's interesting to hear the responses
was fun.
Thanks. Just a reminder to all the media here, if you're looking to ask a question, just type it in. I think we have our first question here from Brian Burns, Sergey.
Okay, how tough has it been? Yeah, you know, it's still different training. You don't go probably as hard because we like first couple of weeks we didn't know the guidelines, the dates and stuff, when and how we're gonna play. But after that, we had an idea that we not gonna be playing for a couple of months. So we're just doing light workouts, you know, strength, I guess. But yeah, it's a little tougher when you work out and you don't know when you're gonna be playing. You know, it's yeah. I've never done anything